This is a show called What's on Your Mind, and it's Friday, and we want to know always what's on people's mind. This is a show about real people talking about real issues.
Randy Stress. I am a writer. I am an Emmy Award-winning stage manager, and I'm a guy who likes to have fun and soon to be a TV host myself. So nice to meet everyone.
Well, welcome, Randy. Do you think the government has a moral obligation?
Our leaders, Congress and all of that, they should have a moral obligation to the people, but the reality is they don't. And they seem to really have more love or caring for big business, for big oil, for everything but the American people. I mean, the reality is their job is to do what we need them to do. And right now, they ignore what we want and they do what they want. They say they're doing what's best for us, but they're doing what they want. And for some reason, what they want never helps the regular Joe walking around America, blue collar worker. It always seems to help corporate Joe. Corporate Joe gets lots of help from the people who are supposed to worry about everyone. And I don't care if you take care of corporate as long as you take care of regular Joe worker.
Right.
Okay, I'm Christine Lim. How you guys doing?
Good. And if you could tell us what you're doing currently a little bit, just real quick.
I'm quarantined. That's what I'm doing.
I'll just throw it out to you. What do you think about what's going on with Juneteenth?
You know, I'm going to be honest. A couple of weeks ago, I looked at my app and the calendar, and it said Juneteenth, and I thought, what is this? I thought I made a mistake and put this on the calendar, and I just kind of disregarded it until you start watching the news, and I was surprised and not surprised. Like, how come I don't know about this? I had to go search. I didn't know about the Tulsa massacre, and it made me really angry because why don't I know this? I went to school.
Right.
And I know that American history is whitewash. You know.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, everything's whitewashed. I mean, because of this, I had to look even just for Asian American history. Things I didn't know. I didn't know that we couldn't come into this country. We couldn't get citizenship, and we were also lynched. But nowhere in history have I read anything about it. It wasn't even mentioned. So I feel go ahead.
I wanted to jump in. I remember when I was a kid, I met this Japanese guy. He was older, like my grandfather, and he used to show us these photos that used to say things like, and I'm about to be graphic with my language. It would say, I hate to say what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it. No niggas, no chinks, no Mexicans will accept dogs. Like those were actual phones that he showed us, and he was like, he was explaining how when they were doing the railroads and how bad it was, how they would just abuse the hell out of me. I mean, he told us some stories that were just horrific, and it was funny because we never heard it in school.
Exactly.
We heard a little bit, but we didn't hear enough where you're like, wow, that was big. Wait a minute, the entire railroad? Like, holy cow, that's huge.
Wow.
You know, the way they talk about it, it's like, oh, they took a little track from Chicago to Milwaukee.
Right, yeah.
But across the country, that's huge. How is that not in the history books?
Yeah. I remember as a kid, and I heard about slavery, and I'd read up on it, but again, you're just a kid. You know, it's just slavery, and everything's good. And then one day, Whtz was on TV, this miniseries.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched and like thinking, and I'm a kid, I'm like, okay, I read about slavery in school, and the opening scene, I was shocked, and I'm like crying, like how can a human do this to another human?
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't learn this in school. I'm like, and then when you see this, you kind of like you're your foundation is shaken. Like, what's true and what's not? You know,
right. Do you think that? Yeah. Do you think change in the country as a whole?
I hope so. I hear people say it feels different.
Yeah.
And I hope so, because, excuse me, this shit's been happening for a long time.
A long time.
Right? A long time.
Right?
Nothing new.
Nothing new.
My favorite thing is the fact that the racist people who were trying to do all of this stuff to keep us separated, they were short-sighted. So because they were short-sighted, they didn't pay attention to things like hip-hop and pop and all this stuff that kind of brought people together. So all of a sudden you have people who have friends who are white and Asian and Hispanic and all of this. So all of a sudden this new generation of millennials and the ones after they're like, well, I grew up with friends from all these different cultures. I never saw what you're talking about. I don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? Like, we grew up at the split where, you can have segregation. I mean, you're desegregated, but you can't go to that school. You know what I mean? We kind of grew up in that where, well, it's not here, but it is here. And then the next group kind of came in where it's like, oh no, we're mixed. Like we're integrated. We all know each other. And I love it because they didn't think about that. So now these kids are like, no, I'm not trying to hear what you're talking about, granddad. Like, no.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Racism is taught. It's taught. Racism is taught.
It is.
Right. You set goals and move on, through this pandemic. I mean, it's like cumbersome. And you're just impacted all the way around. It's just incredible.
Right. Yeah. And this is only like June. I want this year to be over, or at least a redo. This is just crazy.
I know. I mean, who would imagine that this year we'd be 6 months into it? We're almost done.
Yeah. I'm ready to vote because
I still feel like they're making the numbers bigger than they should be because they're trying to keep us panicking for everything they're doing. Because I'm looking at things saying it takes this long to do tests, and they're like, well, we opened up Florida yesterday, and then the next day they're like, the number spiked up 10,000, and you're like, it takes longer than that to do a test. How could it spike 10,000 in 2 days if it takes more than 2 days to test people? I just think we need new leadership and everything can get back on track. Someone who takes it seriously, who knows, who's like, a lot of people don't realize the smartest leader is a leader that knows when to follow. And the person that we have in office, he doesn't know when to follow. He feels like, I'm the leader. I got to beat my chest and tell everybody I did it first. That's not a leader. That's a boss. And a boss is not a leader. Right. A boss is someone who leads people to do what you need. A leader says, you know what?
Right.
I'm not smart enough to handle this. Let me pass it over to you. And you step up and you take over. And I just sit back and listen to what you say because you know better than me. That's like me trying to talk to you about being a producer. Hey, I read a book. But let's be real.
Right.
I'd stand there like,
at least you read a book.
Yeah, exactly. Thoughts that you want to share with?
Really, in general, just stay positive and don't let fear guide you. That's always a failure right there. Always stay positive.
Yeah. How about you, Randy?
I agree with that. Don't let fear get to you. Stop watching the media because they need to have media reform because the media is pushing fear and they're making people scared and divided. They need to have reform and they need to penalize them to make them have to tell the truth because that's all they're doing is making us fearful. Just take it day by day. Don't stare at the computer all day. Don't stare at TV all day. Once a week, look at it. Take a deep breath and walk it off.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I thank you both. It's been a blast. This is a show called What's on Your Mind. And what can I tell you? Real people talking about real issues. All right? I thank you guys. I will talk to you guys soon. Be safe and see you soon.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.